Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 5 of the 2023 Tour de France. Guys sitting on the Chesterfield. This is the big first mountain showdown of the 2023 Tour de France. Now, so far, stages 1 and 2, UAE Team Emirates have dominated. They have the race leader's yellow jersey with Adam Yates, and Tadej Pogačar sitting in the white youth jersey is second on the general classification. Now, they've had a good run for the last 4 stages, but when I take you back to stages 3 and 4, remember I told you guys yesterday it was a little bit weird that those guys were always at the back of the peloton coming into the finish of that race car track on yesterday with 2.9 kilometers to go while they're racing at the back of the peloton, and you saw Jonas Vingegaard and Jumbo-Visma at the front drilling it like crazy. Of course, they had lost Wout van Aert coming onto the circuit because he was about 30 guys back. But Tadej Pogačar had moved up along the circuit and finished actually in front of Jonas Vingegaard on yesterday's stage 4 of the Tour de France. Now we're going into stage 5, and this is when you make your mark on the Tour de France. You either want to hold your general classification, or if you have the legs, you want to be aggressive and try to get up the road. Yesterday, stage 4 was incredibly slow. The whole reason it was slow wasn't because stages 1 and 2 were hard, because stage 3 wasn't a hard stage. Stage 4 was going easy because everybody in the European peloton doing the Tour de France right now know that stage 5 is going to be the big showdown for a breakaway to get up the road and put some pressure back on the other teams. Most likely, a team like UAE Emirates will probably let a breakaway go and possibly even give the race leader's yellow jersey away here on stage 5. Stage 5 at 162 kilometers long, 3 categorized climbs. One is an HC climb, the Sudé. That climb is 15 kilometers long, and we're talking like 7%. Now, they have a category 3 that'll summit with about 38 kilometers to go. They'll drop down that, and then they're going to start the Col de Mary Blanc. This climb at over 7.5 kilometers long, and it's a monster in terms of pitches. Guys, we're talking about 8.6% average. But I've done this climb, and I've suffered at the top where it gets really steep. It starts off easy when you turn off the main road, and then it starts going through the valley, starts picking up, and then the last parts have massive percentages of over 10% going all the way up to the last KOM. That'll summit with 18 kilometers to go. Now, let's get into the racing because there's a lot of action, and guys, I cannot cover it all, and I cannot do it justice. If you have 162 kilometers worth of view and you need to watch it all in slow-mo because there's action happening all over the place, but let's get into it. The riders are going to hit kilometer 0, and we know it's my man Victor Campenaerts. Lotto Destiny is going to throw an attack, and his teammates with him. Now, Victor Campenaerts is stringing out the peloton. We know the MO now because I already told you if you don't know it, it's going to be attacks all day long until a break gets away. Lotto Destiny's being super aggressive. EF Education's being aggressive. Wout van Aert, Jumbo-Visma's throwing in attacks early here on stage 5, and the groups are getting massive in size. Now, with about 140 kilometers to go, let me show you, as we see, it's Tadej Pogačar jumping from what's left of the GC favorites there, bridging up to the front group in front of him there so that he can control it. This is a trouble marker here if you're watching closely. Tadej Pogačar should never be jumping across to a move in front of him. He should always be following moves or have his teammates in front of him for the UAE Team Emirates big-time general classification favorite to win here at the Tour de France when it's all said and done. So when you see him jumping across moves, this should set off some red alarms going off in your head. Now we get under 40 kilometers to go. We're at about 35, 36. There's front groups up there. One big one of about 20 riders. Wout van Aert's in there. My man Victor Campenaerts driving it. Mads Pedersen's going to town. Julian Alaphilippe from Pseudo Quick Steps up there. It's massive in size, and guess what? There's a second group coming from behind of like 15 riders. Now let's go back to the peloton. Just as those two groups are getting away, look over there to the left side. Well, that's the race leader's yellow jersey, Adam Yates. Now look a little bit in front of him to the left side. Well, that's the Solarism right there from UAE Team Emirates. What does the Solarism do when there's a huge group going up the road of about 35 guys in 2 splits that are going to merge together? Well, the Solarism isn't going to pull the peloton back up to this front group. He's going to jump across to it. The Solarism is the last guy, UAE Team Emirates, to make it up to this front group that merges together with 36 riders in the front group. Guys, I have told you many times on the Butterfly Effect, a lot of times when the group gets big in size, it might not gel. And you'll see that happen a lot of times. But right now, UAE team members are in trouble because when I back the camera down there and look at the peloton that's being pulled from Vingegaard, Stockelagan, once we look further back from him, it's Mikhail Berg on the side of the road. I'll bring you back to 140 kilometers when I told you Tadej Pogačar was jumping across. Look at the back of the peloton there. That's Matteo Trentin. This is the problem with the Solarism. He made a massive mistake. We go back up to that group of 36 UAE team members. Don't only have Solera in there, but they got their other climber, Grossschartner. That means there's two guys up there. That means Matteo Trentin, their hard worker on the flats, he was sitting back with 140 kilometers to go, so you know it's going to take him time to get to the front. And it means Vingegaard Stockelagan is the only guy left to pull. You're not going to put Adam Yates on the front and start drilling this group of 36 guys back. You're not going to put Tadej Pogačar on the front and have him drill it. And Rafael Majka is one of your pure climbers too. And like I already told you, you had Mikhail Bjerg still trying to get back to the back end of the peloton when all this was going down. Now let's go up to the group of 36 because the gap's already starting to extend out to about a minute. And then I'll show you a couple more mistakes from Soler and Grossschartner. They're sitting at the back of a group of 36 riders. Are you kidding me? You're sitting at the back when there's 36 guys? And there's 3 Jumbo-Visma guys in there. It's the big man, Wout van Aert. He was aggressive throughout the beginning of this race. And now he's in this group, and he's a threat to take the race leader's yellow jersey. Probably not a threat to win in Paris, so you might not have to worry about him too much. But he's got a couple teammates with him. He's got Christophe Laporte there, and he's got Thies Benoot. Now, if UAE team members, the Solarism, and Grossschartner make this front group, don't sit at the back. At least stay around the Jumbo-Visma guys. Well, the group splits with 6 guys going up the road, and Christophe Laporte's in that group. And look back, it's UAE team member, it's pulling. I think that's the Solarism there doing a big dig to try to pull back these 6 guys in front. What are you doing? You don't need to pull this group back. There's only 6 guys. You do anything you possibly can to slow down this group of 36 because there's threats all over the place in the general classification. And the biggest problem when we do another calculation of who's in this group of 36, well, Jai Hindley's in there from Bora Hansgrohe. He's got 3 guys. Mads Pedersen's in there, and he's got Ciccone in there too, along with Juan Lopez. That's 3 riders from the same team. You go further down, there's AG2R. They got 3 riders on the same team. Israel Premier Tech, they got 2 riders from the same team. Lotto Destiny, well, guess what? They got 2 guys too, because I already told you Victor Campenaerts is up there. And then you start looking at EF Education. They got 2 guys. Guys, Pseudo Quickstep have 3 guys in this move, and Julian Alaphilippe, Remy Cavagna, and Casper Asgreen are motors. They can pull this thing heavy and hard throughout this whole stage, especially when you do the math and go, wow, there's only 120, 25 kilometers left. These guys can just each put 1 teammate on the front and drill it, and that's why you need to be perfect if you're UAE team members. Well, like I said, Solarism pulled that group of 6 back with Christophe Laporte, who wasn't a threat. If I'm the director sportif and I got 2 guys in there already, first off, I'd be mad if there's a group of 36 up the road with 2 of my guys in there and nobody back there to chase. But now you got them in there. The next best thing you can say when you're talking about your teammates of the Solarism and Grossschartner, one of you guys stay with Thies Benoot and you go everywhere with them. The next rider stays with Wout van Aert and you go everywhere with them. You don't sit at the back of the group of 36, and then when 6 guys are riding away with just Christophe Laporte in there, pull it. Well, they pulled it back. What happened next? Wout van Aert and Victor Campenaerts went on a rampage. They went up the road and they had 2 guys for company because Mads Pedersen from Trek Segafredo was there and Brian Cocard from Cofidis jumped across. That's 4 guys drilling it on the front. Why you would want to work with Wout van Aert if you're Victor Campenaerts or Mads Pedersen, especially Mads Pedersen, because you got Ciccone back there. You might have been a little bit smarter if you're Mads Pedersen and not be such a knucklehead and drop back there and started pulling that group so you could get Ciccone, who's a threat on the general classification, further along in this stage and keep it smooth and steady. And Steady's up there doing pull for pull with Wout van Aert. Now I see their director sportif pull up alongside there of Mads Pedersen and we see a conversation. And I got to believe the director sportif is just saying, what are you doing up here? You got to get out of here. But they don't look like they're arguing 100%, so maybe both are knuckleheads. I don't know. Mads Pedersen is going to keep working in the front group. Brian Kokar did win the sprint competition back there and got some points. Mads Pedersen got second, but now they're starting the big HC climb here, the Soudet. Now as they're going up the Soudet, finally behind, it was Bora Hansgrohe that started doing some work on the front. They started working hard with Patrick Conrad as he's on the front, but he's not getting much help, and you see him getting a little grumpy with some of the other riders, and then come back to the front and start pulling again. Finally, you see Mads Pedersen get dropped. He comes back to the group behind that's chasing up there with Wout van Aert and my man Victor Campenaerts. And then as Mads Pedersen comes back, look at Juan Lopez there, Trek Segafredo. He looks right over his shoulder. The big man, Mads Pedersen, is not even going to do a pull on the front. Thank you, Mads Pedersen, as you're getting dropped off the back already here early into stage 5. Now, Juan Lopez goes to work because he knows he's got Ciccone. That's a threat on the general classification and a threat to win today's stage 5 if he can hang with Jai Hindley and Felix Gall from AG2R. Now, as we start seeing with Lopez up front pulling like crazy, AG2R will do a little bit of work too, and they'll round up Wout van Aert before the top of this climb, and then we start seeing some attacks. Felix Gall, AG2R, goes on a solo mission to get the KOM points, and behind it's Ciccone chasing with some company. They'll go over the top together. Once they go down the descent, we start seeing all the groups start coming back. Wout van Aert, who got caught and dropped, he's coming back on with Thies Benoot. So these two guys don't have much form, and Christophe Laporte had already been dropped a long time ago here on stage 5. As they're coming down the descent here off the Soudet, the group is getting back into about 20 riders in size, and everything's back together with Felix Gall wrapped back up. Now we start seeing the next attack. It's Chris Nylands. Nylands from Israel Premier Tech's going solo up the road. He'll take maximum points on the Category 3 climb, so he's not going to get much. And when we look behind, it's AG2R that's doing some work. We go all the way back to the peloton, and what was happening back there, we're going up the Soudet. That was when the Solarism got wise and at least dropped out of this front group. Felix Gerschartner will drop out eventually too, and he'll go back to the group back there. But when we start looking at the peloton back there pulling up the Category 3 with the Solarism on the front, take a look at the face of Mikkel Berg. He is suffering big time. Now, Solarism has to keep going because they can't let this gap get too much bigger because it's already around 4 minutes. It'd been held at about 3.5, and moved up to 4 and then dropped back down to 3.5. But Solarism's doing everything he can, and Mikkel Berg is suffering like crazy. Now up front, once they come off the Category 3 through the valley, Wout van Aert is going to throw an attack. Julian Alaphilippe's going to go with Wout van Aert, and they're going to bridge up to Chris Nylands from Israel Premier Tech, and they'll start the final climb here, Col de Mary Blanc, with about a 30-second gap on the group behind. AG2R is not having any of it because Felix Gall, remember him, Tour de Suisse, he was on fantastic form, won a stage, wore the race leader's jersey there. Now he's trying to shine here at the Tour de France for AG2R. With those guys driving on the front, they got some help from Omar Fraley, who's putting on a show. Going deep because he's got a teammate, Danny Martinez, that's in the group too. So Ineos is pulling hard, AG2R is pulling hard, and the gap is coming down to Wout van Aert. Now we look back behind this UAE team member. It's on the front. They're starting to drive it. Soler has come off the front. Rafa Micah's there for UAE team member. It's drilling it up this last and final climb for stage 5. Jumbo Visma got 5 guys wrapped around Jonas Vingegaard, and Sepp Kuss, the American, is doing a show here at stage 5, riding at the front. He's a little bit invisible on yesterday's stage 4, 3, even 2 he was invisible, but he's not invisible at the beginning here of Col de Mary Blanc as Jumbo Visma got some faith for Jonas Vingegaard. Up front, that's falling apart all over the place with the acceleration from AG2R after they wrapped up. Wout van Aert, Chris Nylands, and Julian Alaphilippe for Pseudo Quickstep. AG2R is drilling it now. Clement, he wants to put on a show. He's got his teammate Felix Gall on his wheel. Then we got 2 Bora Hansgrohe riders just behind them, followed by Martinez. These guys are throwing in big time. And we'll see Clement go all the way about halfway up this climb. Then he'll pull off hard left as we see the big acceleration come in from Felix Gall. Felix Gall accelerated so hard nobody can follow him except for one guy. It's Jai Hindley. That, my friend, is the 2021 Giro d'Italia champion. He is sitting second wheel locked on to Felix Gall from AG2R. These two guys are swapping off turns, putting time on to everyone. We start looking back at the peloton behind. Well, just as Rafael Micah was coming off the front, Jumbo Visma decided to take over. It's Sepp Kuss. He's told to go to work work now for Jonas Vingegaard, who must have some good form. Now, guys, if I back the film up just a little bit before this final and last climb, Col de Mary Blanc, and throughout the earlier climbs here on stage 5, Tadej Pogačar wants this group of 36 win up the road. When you're in this scenario, you need to just stay calm, you need to relax, and you need to think, what is the most important thing I have to worry about here on stage 5? Well, the same thing you did in last year's Tour de France on stage 11. Stay with Jonas Vingegaard at all costs. Nobody else matters. So the fact that we're on Col de Mary Blanc, the fact that Jai Hindley's going up the road, he's got enough time gap there with a couple minutes to be able to put himself in the race leader's yellow jersey and be a threat to win this year's Tour de France in 2023. You can't worry about that. It's too late. UAE team Emirates Solarism at 138 kilometers to go blew that all up when he jumped up the left side of the road and didn't pull this group of 36 back. So the whole time, Tadej Pogačar, I hope you just thought the whole time on stage 5 here, my most important mission, stay hydrated, stay out of the wind, stay on the wheel of my teammates, stay smooth, stay consistent, and make sure you have enough calories to go over this climb so you can ride with the best in the world, and make sure you stay on the wheel of Jonas Vingegaard. Now, like I said, Sepp Kuss is going full gas, and guess what? He runs into Wout van Aert. Wout van Aert looks back, he gets on the front and starts doing a massive pull. He's hurting everyone in that group. We see Ineos riders going out the back. Egan Bernal had some help there from Jonathan Castroviejo to keep the gap close, but he's getting gapped off anyways. Then Wout van Aert's done with his turn. Sepp Kuss throws in a hard acceleration. It's blowing it up. Guys, there's only 4 guys in the front GC favorites. Sepp Kuss, Jonas Vingegaard, Tadej Pogačar, Carlos Rodriguez from Ineos is having a fantastic ride here, going up the last climb, Col de Mary Blanc here on stage 5 of the Tour de France. We go up front to see what's happening with the 2 riders. Well, Jai Hindley decided it was time to stop playing around. He threw an attack on Felix Gall, and now he's going solo here on stage 5, trying to win the stage and take the race leader's yellow jersey. We go back down and we start seeing that Sepp Kuss is starting to round out his turn. And now it's time. Jonas Vingegaard throws in attack, goes up the left side. Tadej Pogačar goes around the right there of Sepp Kuss, the American rider. He can't get out of the saddle, but Jonas Vingegaard's out of the saddle, going full gas on the pedals. He'll look right over his shoulder, see what kind of gap he's got. He's got it, so he stays on the gas. He's going through the original breakaway riders, left and right, dodging them all over the place. Almost hit one of the parked cars on the side there. It gives a little look at the director sportif like that was maybe not the perfect parking spot, but he doesn't slow down. He stays on the gas. Camera goes back down to Tadej Pogačar, UAE team members, who's starting to see his race lead start to drop here as Jonas Vingegaard's going away up to Col de Mary Blanc. Now, as Jonas Vingegaard's catching riders all over the place, we're going to go all the way up to the top of the KOM where Jai Hindley's going solo over the top. We look further down the hill. Felix Gall's going to go second over the KOM. We look further back behind that. Well, it's Ciccone. Ciccone's doing everything he can, and he's got Manuel Buchmann, Bora Hansgrohe on his wheel. Now, Manuel Buchmann's not going to do any pulling, right? Because Jai Hindley's up the road. So, Manuel Buchmann's sitting on. We see Ciccone chasing, going over the top of the KOM, going full gas. And then Jonas Vingegaard, who has blown through the remnants of the breakaway guys, is flying over the top of the KOM, making up time on Jai Hindley. He'll cross the top with about a minute gap on Jai Hindley. And then we look further back. Tadej Pogačar's losing about 30, 40 seconds to Jonas Vingegaard as he goes over the top solo. We go back further behind Tadej Pogačar. There's bodies all over the place. Luckily, we're at the Tour de France because they got cameras everywhere, so we can see most of the action. And when we go further back, it's the Yates brothers. It's Simon Yates, Adam Yates back there, and it's Gaudu, Davide Gaudu, who's climbing over the top of the KOM trying to save his GC hopes here with the 2 Yates brothers sitting on his wheel that can't pull at this moment. They got some more company though as they drop down the descent. It'll start coming back together. Up front, Jonas Vingegaard is flying. He catches Ciccone. He catches Manuel Buchmann. We go up front. Jai Hindley's flying through the corners. We go just behind him. Felix Gall's doing the same thing, but Jonas Vingegaard's going so fast, he's going to catch him with about 5 kilometers to go. As he's catching Felix Gall, he's thinking at this time, maybe Felix Gall will give me some help. You see him look over. He's asking for some help. Felix Gall's like, man, I've been in the break all day long. I can't do anything except for sit on because you are the TGV up here. As Jonas Vingegaard knows he's not getting any more help, he tries to look for some more still from Ciccone. He looks back trying to get some from Ciccone, but Ciccone's not going to pull because Skilmos is back there with Tadej Pogačar because Tadej Pogačar just got caught from a group from behind with his teammate in there, Adam Yates. Yates catches him. We see FDJ have two riders in this group with Gaudu and Mad Was, who was up in the front break originally here on stage 5, is back. Now he's pulling. That group's going to swell even a little bit bigger because I told you Skilmos got on. Now you got 10 guys back there, and they're rotating with Tadej Pogačar. Let's go back up to the front because Jai Hindley, like I said, coming down the descent, bombing through the corners, had one little close call, about 10 kilometers to go, but now we're getting into 1 kilometer to go, and you know Jai Hindley's going to win today, stage 5. He'll celebrate coming across the line, arms out, kisses to the crowd, little pounding, fist bumps in the air, everything as he celebrates his first Tour de France victory and his first appearance at the Tour de France. Along with that, guys, he's going to take the race leader's yellow jersey. When we look further back, Jonas Vingegaard's pulling in his group all the way into the line, but Ciccone's going to start a massive sprint. He's going to get second on the stage. Felix Grossschartner third, so no time bonifications there for Jonas Vingegaard on today's stage, and he'll gap off just about 2 seconds off that group. But let me show you this next picture. He's throwing the bike, trying to get maximum time here at the line because he knows Tadej Pogačar is still chasing back there. I told you Tadej Pogačar had some help as Adam Yates came on, Simon Yates came on, FDJ came on. They're all rotating through. When they come up to the line, Tadej Pogačar cannot even get on the front to pull. He finishes about second or third in that group on today's stage, but he'll lose time, and Jonas Vingegaard will drop into second place on the general classification after today's stage. Jai Hindley, who took the stage and the race leader's yellow jersey, he is in a firm position in the GC. He's got a 47-second gap, on Jonas Vingegaard. And then you got to go back to about 140 to Tadej Pogačar. Now, it's not over and said and done. When I dissect today's tactics, I told you UAE team members were terrible. Jumbo-Visma, they put pressure on UAE team Emirates and they fell for it and they started drilling it when all they really had to do up there is just keep their climber, Grossschartner there with Wout van Aert sitting on his wheel, and of course keep Soler sitting on Thies Benoot's wheel and don't do anything. They wouldn't have to do any work. Instead, everybody got tired from UAE team members from doing big-time pulls. Jonas Vingegaard, who's down on the general classification in second, but it's not much, right? Jai Hindley is a Giro d'Italia winner, so we got a Giro winner going to battle against a Tour de France, last year's winner, Jonas Vingegaard, and then Tadej Pogačar has some time to make up. But it's only about 53 seconds to Jonas Vingegaard, and of course, over a minute and 30 there on Jai Hindley from Bora Hansgrohe. Bora Hansgrohe are set up kind of nicely in the general classification because Emmanuel Buchmann's in there too. So they got a couple cards to play here after today's stage 5. But what happened to Tadej Pogačar? Well, when you look at his ride, you got to believe he didn't quite have that same Tadej Pogačar form that we were looking at in years past and in races past. Stage 1, stage 2, he looked good. But you look at stage 3, why was UAE Team Emirates all the way at the back? It was a strange call. I know I saw Adam Yates say in the conference afterwards when he's getting interviewed that, hey, we wanted to take it easy on these stages. But I start to ask myself, could Tadej Pogačar have a little bit of stomach bug or be a little bit sick on stages 3 and 4? And that might explain why UAE Team Emirates are at the back. I don't know, maybe. I'm just guessing here. Certainly their tactics were terrible here on today's race, and the Solerism started them all off when he jumped and didn't pull that group back when there was nobody else left, because when the beginning of the race is rolling like this and going up some little hills, I mean, we saw Fabio Jakobsen, who crashed on yesterday's stage 4. We saw him getting dropped about 10K into the stage, and we saw a lot of the other sprinters coming out the back, so you know it's fast. And Matteo Trentin is not that type of rider to be able to pull when you got those small little climbs going up at the beginning. So when you lose a Marc Soler and a Felix Grossschartner, that means that gap is going to extend because Vegard Stokkeleggen is not going to be super strong when the climb's going up. And Mikkel Berg was on the side of the road changing bikes. So big time mistakes here tactically. But But that still does not explain what happened to Tadej Pogačar. After the race, he said in the interview that he felt good, but Jonas Vingegaard just went faster. It still doesn't quite add up when you look at it, because Tadej Pogačar, going over the top of the Col de Mary Blanc solo, normally the Slovenian would bomb down that descent, and there's no way anyone could do anything to bring him back. But instead, he's getting brought back from the group behind that had Adam Yates, who's sitting on, of course, but Simon Yates is in there, and of course the Frenchman Davide Gaudu. If they can bring him back, something has to be wrong, because he's not riding 100%. You could say maybe his training from his fractured wrist or broken wrist has lost him some form, and maybe he went too hard on stage 1, or maybe he didn't come into this tour with the right kind of form that we're used to seeing from Tadej Pogačar because of the broken wrist. Or maybe, just maybe, stages 3 and 4, he had a stomach ache or some kind of little bug, and he's not quite 100%. Doesn't make sense that on stages 3, you 18 members were riding at the back the whole time. I've never seen that before from Tadej Pogačar, and it makes no sense that we would have seen it on 3 and 4. So if I was one of the journalists there at the Tour de France, go up to Tadej Pogačar and ask him if he's been 100% healthy on 3 and 4 and here on stage 5. Either way, we got a battle. It's not blown out, but Tadej Pogačar has to come back to that magical form that we're used to seeing from the Slovenian. Otherwise, Jonas Vingegaard and Jai Hindley look like they're the two big favorites here in the 2023 Tour de France, and I might just have to change my top 5 list on the butterfly effect. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next edition for the next big mountain stage of the Tour de France for stage 6. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you real soon.